It is the Flow Friday Night Sports Show, and I can tell you that our next guest on the program today has been with me talking netball for well over a decade. Now, we've ridden the highs and lows of the mighty West Coast Hawks together. There's been more lows than highs, it's fair to say, over many, many years, and I've been waiting a long time to say this, so bear with me a moment. Joining me on the line now is the reigning Premiership coach for the mighty West Coast Hawks in Western Eyre netball, Reanna Freeman. Hello, Reanna. How are you?
Oh, well, now I'm fabulous, thank you. How are you?
How did that sound, all right?
I mean, I'm happy for you to play that intro every week this year.
It's been a long time coming, buddy, hasn't it? We thought we've had this a few times, but it hasn't quite developed.
And I do keep telling the girls, we are the premiers until September this year, so let's live it up for as long as we can.
Why am I gloating? I didn't play. But look, it has been a long time coming, mate. And what was the summer like as the reigning Premiership coach? It must have been a little different.
It was outstanding. We had a little, what we called a little premiership tour where we just all got together, both our A and B grade after winning premierships, and just did a tour around our local district to do a little bit more bonding after the season had finished. And then sort of every time we've seen each other, it was always a topic of conversation. Obviously, we've started pre-season and we're trying to look forward and not backwards. But, you know, every now and then as I turn my back and go and set something up, I do hear a little mention of premiers and the season we had last year. So it's definitely still on everyone's mind, although we are looking forward to this season coming. As
you should be. And you've had your foot on the till for a long time in the Midwest League. Of course, there were a couple of very handy clubs getting around that just kept, shall we say, taking it away at the final hurdle. There was the likes of the Wirralers and the Western Districts and Elliston's, who all just sort of popped up at various times as really good clubs. But the West Coast Hawks are always the consistent ones that was sort of sitting around that second, third, fourth on the ladder and just couldn't quite go to the next step. But you certainly did last year, and you beat some pretty good sides to do it. Western Eyre is no poor competition by any stretch. You beat some very good sides to win the flag, didn't you?
Absolutely, and I think that looking forward to this year coming, I don't think it's going to be any different. Not 100% sure of all the ins and outs, but I will find out as the season goes on. But I think this year is going to be another very strong season.
We've got a bit of time to talk about that. So we've dealt with the good right off the top. That's great. I want to deal with the bad now because I know that there's something you're pretty passionate about that has got you a little upset. It's got me upset as well, and a lot of people across country, South Australia, that love their netball and want to foster the junior development of our youngsters in the sport. The removal of the Eyre Peninsula Netball Academy, and these are regional academies. So obviously, we're talking specifically about the Eyre Peninsula Academy today with you, but these are academies all over regional SA. They've basically pulled the pin on them, Netball SA, and I think I called this the worst single decision in sporting governance that I've ever heard of in an interview a little while ago. From over there on the West Coast, what have you made of it? You've had a lot of girls from the Hawks over the years go through the academy over there and go on to bigger and better things. What have you made of this decision, and is it a good one or a bad one in your opinion?
Well, it started in February when I seen the announcement of this incredible-looking Thunderbirds Academy, which got me extremely excited. It looked fantastic, and what an opportunity. And then it was later on in that week that I realised that was in place of what we already had, which was, I think it's around 10 academies across South Australia. So I went from being really excited about what a wonderful program to extremely disappointed and quite angry, I guess you could say, about what they were taking away from us because, you know, as you've just touched on, we would have had 20 girls across the EP represented in the Eyre Academy every year. And speaking on behalf of Hawks, we've always had, you know, at least one representative in that side. And what it does for those girls is not only just improves their netball, but it improves our club as a whole because what they bring back to our club is things that they've been learning, drills, coaches from our club might go and watch some of the trainings, learn things that way. So it sort of benefited the clubs at grassroots, not just pushing those girls to a new level. And that's just all been taken away. So that's really disappointing. What they've replaced it with is a statewide academy. So we went from, I think it was 220 girls across the state to now 80. And it involves a lot of travel.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And look, for country leagues and associations close to the city, I mean, it's probably not going to be a terrible thing. They'll be able to get their kids into the city and training with, under the Thunderbirds banner, and all will be well. But for Streaky Bay, Ceduna, long way away from Adelaide, you guys are going to clock up a lot of Ks.
Yeah, so I think it's got to be said here that we are very fortunate that we have had someone go through to this academy, and that's Chloe Evans from the Hawks. So a massive congratulations to her, and this is going to be outstanding for her, and what an opportunity. But just to maybe put it into perspective, just in club Saturday games, just in our normal competition from Streaky Bay, she's going to travel 2,670 kilometres just on Saturday netball games. You put on top of that association trial trainings and carnivals, and then on top of that she will have, for the Thunderbirds Academy, 3 trainings in Whyalla, because what they've actually done is broken it up into 4 areas. So she'll have 3 trainings in Whyalla and 2 trainings in Adelaide, and that will total another 5,068 kilometres on top of her already 2,670 kilometre trips minimum for netball. So not to mention a $565 entry fee, which covers the cost of their entry fee, which is like a tracksuit and a uniform and whatnot. So whilst I think this is a fabulous program, the financial burden this is going to have on families is outrageous, not to mention the fact that people would have looked at this academy who have outstanding players and would not have even trialled, A, because it's intimidating for a lot of country people to head over to the city, and B, because they would have known straight off the bat that financially they couldn't afford this. So I think Netball SA, I think this program would be fabulous if it sat on top of the program they already had, but to completely wipe out our academies was a real big mistake on their behalf. And I think they have been told by all the EP associations how disappointed we are. Whether that gets us anywhere is yet to be seen.
I've got to ask you this. Is it true that the Eyre Peninsula Netball Associations, by and large, are toying with the idea of not affiliating?
Look, there's been lots of conversations. Affiliating with Netball SA is really our only option at this stage, but we've most definitely spoken to Netball SA to say how unhappy we are. We're paying junior subs $78.56 and senior subs $95.40. What that gets us is insurance. We no longer get umpires for finals. We don't really get workshops out in the country. If we do, we have a workshop and we pay to do the workshop. When we go to Country Carnival, we'll have to pay to get in the door. We'll have to pay an affiliation fee to go to Country Carnival. So we're not really sure what our money is covering. Maybe that beautiful stadium that they've got in Adelaide that we very rarely use. I'm not sure. So look, there is a lot of conversation happening on the EP, and Netball SA are aware of this and are coming out to the country to have conversations with all associations. So Western Eyre yet to have our meeting with Netball SA, but we're certainly going to put some hard questions to them and see what answers they come up with.
Well, let's hope they come out with their hearing aids turned up to maximum, because I think there'll be a few people that'll be venting, maybe years of frustration, but in particular over the academy situation. It's the most staggering decision I've ever seen in sports governance. I mean, you've got the Adelaide Thunderbirds at the moment, whose captain and vice-captain came out of the very academy setup they've just cancelled. I will never understand it.
No, me either. And I think one thing that they really made a huge mistake on is there was no consultation with anybody. So Kylie Patherick, who was the Eyre coach, is a fabulous coach, did such a great job with those girls last year. She actually didn't know anything about it. So I think if they had have spoken to people in the country about what their intentions were, they could have got some feedback and they could have shaped it to suit people in the country a little bit more. Like, I think this program is fabulous if you live in the city, but they are completely taking our legs out from underneath us. So I agree they've made a really big mistake here. I don't doubt that those 80 girls in this academy will do amazing things, but they're missing a whole category of people underneath that who may not be outstanding enough to be in that top 80, but those next 80 that are now missing out, which is on Netball SA's behalf a real mistake and a waste of pure talent.
All right, well, that's where we'll leave it. I think we've both had an opportunity to vent our spleen. That's the reigning premiership coach of the West Coast Hawks in Western Eyre Netball, having her say on the cancellation of academies across country SA, and in particular the Eyre Academy. Next week, we're going to talk about the West Coast Hawks and how your pre-season's been. You ready to talk about the Hawks next week, mate?
Always. I'm not going to give too much away. I'll make sure that I get a bit of coverage from the other clubs so I don't bore everyone with the Hawks, but most definitely happy to have a chat at where we're at and the losses we've had this year, and obviously a few games also.
Yep. First round of matches in Western Eyre Netball, the 23rd of April. And in the lead up to that, we'll have a full rundown of not just the Hawks, but all clubs in Western Eyre Netball. Looking forward to it, mate. Great to have you back on the show this winter, and all the best. We'll catch up with you again next week.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.